Alright, this is Roots in the Woods Festival and I'm here with singer, junglist, humanitarian, David Boomah. Welcome.
Yes, very good to see you again.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, first of all, how many times have you been to Slovenia?
Okay, that's a good question. I was here last year, so this is definitely not the first time. I think I've been here about 4 or 5 times now. Yeah, I think they like me here.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of it? It's beautiful nature, obviously.
Yes.
There's some of the mountainous parts, a lot of artists say remind them of the mountainous parts of Jamaica.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually, I believe, when I was having a little tour last time I was here last year, is the greenest city, Ljubljana, is the greenest city in Europe. And actually, when I did drive around, it really was like there were so many trees in the city that I think they may well be. So I do love the greenness and how they managed to balance that with city life and have still a lot of green space. I do like that, yeah.
Yeah, so originally you were born in Birmingham?
That's correct.
Yeah, so yeah, tell me about your kind of journey, because I think you were born in Birmingham but then you grew up in Jamaica, is that right?
That's right. So a lot of people automatically just think that I was born in Jamaica because I spent 10 years there from the age of 9 to 19, but I was born in Birmingham in the UK, not Birmingham, Alabama, as it had on Google. Not from Birmingham, Alabama, Birmingham, UK, and I left and went to Jamaica when I was 9, lived there for 10 years, and then came back to England and ended up living in London somehow.
So which parish in Jamaica did you grow up in?
I grew up in the biggest parish in Jamaica, which is St. Catherine. So some people would say, I used to say I grew up in the country, because I grew up on a farm in St. Catherine, but some people would say it's too close to Kingston, so they say it's not the country. You know, if you want to go to country, you're talking about, you got to go further out, St. Elizabeth and places like that.
Sure.
So yeah, but I think I'm a country boy.
So how come you left Birmingham, and then how come you left Jamaica and then came back to London?
All very complex stories, but my mum, for some reasons, had to send me and my sister to Jamaica to live with our grandparents because of some personal things that she wanted to do, so I ended up living with my grandparents in Jamaica, and that was also I lived with my grandparents, so I ended up living with my uncles and aunts, who then became more like brothers and sisters when you grow up in a house with family, and we're close in age as well. So it was quite an upheaval and quite a big deal, because my life in Birmingham was very, very different from my life in Jamaica. So I ended up moving to Jamaica, living there for 10 years, and then when I was about 19, at that stage, my grandmother was sending all of the children back to England, because the majority of my grandmother's children were born in England, in Birmingham. So she saw that there were more opportunities in the UK than there were in Jamaica. So she worked really, really hard and sent every single one of her children back to England, and that included me as a grandchild as well. So I came back here in 1990.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me about music. What kind of music was playing in your home when you were in Birmingham? I know that's early, versus what was playing in the home in Jamaica.
Okay, that's it's funny, because I was talking to somebody about this literally just a couple of days ago, and my mum was completely in love with Gregory Isaacs and John Holt. So I knew a lot of Gregory Isaacs and John Holt between the ages of 0 to 9, but I also listened to Top of the Pops a lot. So I was also listening to Blondie and Sting and Leo Sayer, and listening to that side of stuff as well. So I had a nice little balance of reggae with pop whilst I was growing up in Birmingham. And then when I went to Jamaica, there was less of the pop. There was still a little element of that, because Jamaica is fairly influenced by American music, and they were listening to, American artists there as well. But then I started learning about Dennis Brown, Leroy Smart, Eddie Fitzroy, some Black Uhuru, and learning more about some of the more roots music and stuff, and Jacob Miller and stuff like that.
Yeah. So were you, even from a young age, more influenced by singers?
Definitely. I mean, I kid that I think when I came out of the womb, I was singing. I literally came. You know, some kids scream when they come out of the womb. I think I sang, because I can't remember a time when I wasn't singing. So it's like, for me, singing is like breathing. So it's a big part of my life, definitely.
Because I guess at this time, you know, the DJ thing was huge in Jamaican music at the time. And if you look at the history, of dancehall, by that time there were a few singers.
Yes.
There were the sort of Cocotees and the Barrington Levy's, but you had to have something very special
Yes.
to sit in that environment.
Yeah.
Is there a parallel in the music that you do? Because obviously there's a lot of MCs.
Yes. So I've been compared to quite a few people in the singing, and I think the tone of my voice, and one of my favourite singers from the UK, from Jamaica, is Sanchez. I've been compared to him. There's a guy called Tony Curtis. I've been compared to him, and I do feel like there's a certain frequency that between Tony Curtis, Sanchez, myself. I feel like I hear that resonance, that frequency. So I'd compare myself in that way, what I've been compared to. So, but yeah, I like that texture and that tone that they have. So yeah, I suppose that would be my answer, Sanchez.
Which singers do you, in all kinds of music, see as the biggest influences on you?
Ooh, okay, all right. So my favourite artist, I'd say, is Stevie Wonder. I think he's like incredible. So overall, he's my favourite artist. But in terms of my favourite vocalist for reggae, I would say that's Dennis Brown. And I think he's got a really beautiful range, and it's quite unique. His voice is, you know, he can do falsetto and highs, and he can do lows, and you know, but he's just got this kind of texture that is just Dennis Brown. So he's my favourite singer. Probably Sanchez would be second from Jamaica. Stevie Wonder is the main influence. If anyone's going to influence me, it's going to be Stevie. But Dennis Brown is definitely up there as well.
Yeah, no, well, that's those are two good influences to have.
Yeah.
So let's talk as well, because before music, you got involved in helping the youth.
Well, I'd say no. I got involved in helping the youth.
The other way around.
Music has always been there.
Yeah.
Music has never. I mean, I've been singing from primary school in the UK before I even went to Jamaica, to crowds and to groups, and singing has always been there. That's never not been there. Youth work, I discovered youth work, or youth work discovered me when I was about 20 years old, roughly. Yeah. So that's something that's come a little bit later. Still quite early. You know, I'm way older than 20 years old now. So it's been a while. Actually, I've been doing youth work now for 32 years. So I've been doing it for a while. But that's something that came later on in life, a little bit later. All right, so let's turn that on its head a little bit. And it's, how did I go from doing music to helping the youth? And how that happened is funny. So I actually got into youth work off the back of music. Music was the route into doing youth work. And it was basically, this is a bit of a funny story. I don't even know if I should be saying this. But so I was my best friend at the time was UK Apache, who people will know from Original Nutter. And he liked this girl, and this girl was a youth worker. So he was going to go and see her, and he brought me along as a wingman kind of thing. And this woman, she was working with a group of girls who were doing a concert. They were going to sing a song at a concert, and they kind of needed a bit of help getting the notes right and stuff. And she asked me if I would help the girls. So I said, yeah, no problem. I'll come along and help. And I ended up volunteering for a whole 6 weeks at that youth club, helping the girls to get the song right. And I enjoyed it so much that at the end of the 6 weeks, I asked if I could just continue volunteering. And then I ended up volunteering at that youth club for 3 years. So that's how I got into youth work, basically. I volunteered to help some girls sing, and then ended up doing it every Friday for 3 years.
And did you at any point, was it always just moving between the music and the youth work? Did you at any point say, I'm going to leave the youth work and concentrate on the music, or has it always just been one continuous flow?
Yeah, it's mainly been both. I've managed to juggle both. I think the youth work has had much more of my time, and it still does. And the only time that I prioritized music over my youth work is when I did my album. So we're going back to between the years 2010 to 2013 when I connected with Brian G and V Recordings and said I want to make an album. And then I really threw myself into the music, and the youth work got completely sidelined. And I'll never regret doing that, because the album I think it did make a mark, and I didn't manage to go on a world tour off the back of the album, and I had a lot of fun making it and touring, and so I feel like I could have given more to music earlier, because I was in my probably late 30s when I did the album, if not later. So music hasn't really got the full attention, because youth work has always been something that I'm really passionate about as well.
Sure. No, and there's a lot of artists out there that sing a lot about social issues, but actually their full-time job is music. So
Yes.
they're delivering the message.
Yes.
But but you've been doing music and making people's lives positive in that way, but also doing the work behind as well.
That's correct. Yeah, and I think and that gives me a lot of joy, because I feel like the two passions, the two things that I'm doing consistently and regularly are empowering and giving joy and helping, and that's what I think my purpose is, and not just I think everyone's purpose is to help each other and to support each other and to empower each other. So for me, I'm grateful every day, and I feel blessed every day that I can do something that is helping people.
Sure. Let's talk a bit about the connections between jungle and reggae, because I think in the early days, jungle was kind of considered a sort of a kind of reggae.
Yes, I mean, so anybody that knows anything about jungle know that it's heavily influenced by samples. So a lot of samples originally were hip hop and reggae, dancehall based, and so it was, and then the bass lines as well. So there was a huge reggae kind of dancehall influence on jungle in I say 92, 93, 94. There was a huge reggae dubby influence. So there is a mix, but I was talking about this earlier on, that I don't think like Jamaica has fully understood or accepted jungle as a genre of music. Like they don't associate it with.
Yeah.
But it's such
But
a.
Rodigan plays it.
Oh, Rodigan. I mean,
but he probably doesn't play it so much in Jamaica.
No, I doubt. I mean, he may tease them with maybe one track out of a whole set of a really prolific jungle track, but he wouldn't. And I don't know if they understand it or have accepted it, and that's okay. But it would be nice if they gave it a chance, because I think it's got some really. It's so connected, and but. Yeah, it is what it is. But I initially, when I heard jungle, I'm just going back now. When I heard jungle, and I think it was 93, I didn't get it either. It took me a while to get it, because it's so different. The drums are so fast that I'm like, flipping heck, man, how do you dance to this kind of thing? But then if you just listen to the bass line, you find your groove and you get to it. So yeah, they are connected.
This has given me a strange thought, actually, because I was just thinking that the Amen break, the Winston's Amen is like a cover of the Impressions Amen, and the Impressions are probably one of the most important groups in Jamaican music. Like the Wailers listened to them and covered them, and I think Junior Mervyn, I did an interview with him, and he said Curtis Mayfield was the original roots man.
So this is it. So now you're talking about the drums, and I always think about the bass line being the reggae element, but now you're saying that the drums also potentially have influenced jungle. So yeah, it just goes to show you that it's so connected, and it all depends on perspectives and where you're coming from and how you view things. But for me, the both musics are they're intertwined, and I love them both passionately. Reggae, dancehall, jungle. I love it. In fact, I call myself a musicologist. I like music right across the board. You look at my record collection; it is extremely diverse. So yeah.
Let's talk, because we just mentioned about the Impressions, and you've covered a big big soul tune by Bill Withers.
Oh, God.
Not easy shoes to step into, but that tune has done extremely well.
Yeah.
Ain't No Sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of doing covers, but every now and again, someone asks me to do a cover. Someone's gonna say, "Oh, I can hear you doing this," and so Aries got in touch with me. I don't know, a couple of years ago, and he was like, "Yeah, I want you to do a cover of Ain't No Sunshine," and I was like, "Oh no, another cover? I really want to do another cover," but he was like, "No, just try it out, just see, So he sent me the instrumental that he made, and I was like, "Wow, this sounds really nice." So I went in the studio and I recorded it, and it really, I mean, people absolutely love the track, and like it's been said, like, because there's been other versions of it, there's even been people have sampled Bill Withers and it's like they said, no, this is hands down the best version of Ain't No Sunshine in Jungle, bar the original Bill Withers track. So it's gone down really well. I mean, it was a free download, and it went to #1 on the on that SoundCloud thing, and yeah, it's been extremely well. It's still shifting numbers now. Like it's my biggest streaming tune still, and it's about 3 years old now, and it's still it's still out streaming new songs that I'm putting out and everything, and old songs that I've put out. It's just killed everything. So yeah, people like it.
Which of your own original compositions are you most proud of?
Oh, okay. This is an interesting question. So I've done a couple of original tracks, and it's funny that I've done some original tracks which haven't been signed to any big labels or recognized labels or whatever, and they don't seem to fare that well. It's like it's like sometimes it feels like you need to be in with certain people, with certain labels, with certain industry types for your music, regardless of the quality. Because when I look at some of the songs that I've put out on more established labels, and I think they're not even a quarter as good as that song that's not on an established label, and that song didn't even chart, but that one went to #1. I'm scratching my head like, how is that? So one of the songs that I would put in that category is a song called Wish Upon a Star, which I think was one of I'm really proud of that piece of work. Didn't chart, no one played it, but for me, it's probably one of my best pieces of work. And I recently did a song with Aries, which somehow we managed to record in an hour and a half, like literally from writing the song to recording it to doing the backing vocals to everything. Like we literally did it in an hour and a half. That song is called You, and that came out in June. And likewise, I mean, it didn't really get any promotion, unfortunately, but it hasn't really done any damage. But for me, I think it's an amazing track. So sometimes it feels like you need to be in certain spaces for certain things to happen, but that doesn't take away from the quality of the track. So I always bear that in mind, and I don't get too disheartened. I just say, okay.
Well, you heard it here. Go and get those 2 tracks.
Definitely. If you're gonna get anything, get those 2 tracks, and then.
So you've been spending some time in Germany as well. What have you been doing there?
Okay. Yes. So this is where youth work and music collide again. So I'm working with 2 other organisations. One is based in Birmingham, and they're called Hip Hop Heals, and they use hip hop in a therapeutic way to work with people that have trauma. So I'm working with Hip Hop Heals and Kiz, big up Kiz, who is the founder of that organisation, and I'm working with an organisation in Berlin, and the organisation in Berlin works with refugees, young refugees that end up in Berlin. They can't speak German, they can't speak English. They've been through a lot of trauma themselves coming from war-torn countries, and it's about it's about supporting them. And they use rap, they use hip hop to help them to communicate. So my organisation also works with a lot of people that have been through trauma. So we got together, we put in for some funding, and we got some funding to do an exchange. So the 2 organisations from the UK went to Berlin to see how they work with people with trauma and use language to overcome barriers. And so we picked up some skills from them. And in October, they are coming to Birmingham to watch us work with the homeless, where we're going to be using hip-hop therapeutic tools to work with people that are homeless and using music to engage with them and just exchange skills and knowledge.
Wow. Well, thanks for doing that. That's all I can say. Now, as you know, I'm more on the reggae side. But I have friends who listen to jungle and drum and bass, and they asked me to ask you. Big up DJ Embryo, by the way. Let's talk about a couple of your tunes that just the inspiration and the story. Can you tell me about "Come Follow We," which has got like almost like a King Tubby tempo influence to the rhythm?
So "Come Follow We." So I'm always influenced by the music. Some people ask, what's your writing process? And my writing process is more often than not, somebody sends me an instrumental, and then that instrumental inspires me, because I don't write from nothing. I write from the instrumental. So Benny Page created the instrumental, he sent it over to me, and that's what the music said. That's what it spoke. I have no idea what I'm gonna write until I'm listening to that instrumental over and over again, and then the words start coming, and and I don't know why, but I think maybe because it's an old school kind of 80s kind of dancehall vibe, it made me start thinking about some of the old school artists, and so who am I influenced by? Who do I respect? Who do I want to mention? And so I kind of merged a kind of thing like bigging myself up, which is what we do. It's that whole dancehall bravado type thing, but also paying homage at the same time to some of the people that I'm influenced by. That's kind of where that came from, I think.
And can you tell me a little bit about the inspiration for Duffy Destroyers as well?
Okay, so Duffy Destroyer, that's a more interesting one. So that was already half produced when I got it. So Trigger was already on it on his own, because that's Trigger, Navigator, big up Navigator, my brother, and myself on that track, and that was done by Decline, and I forgot the name of the other guy. There's another producer that works with Decline a lot, and they both made that made the track.
Solo.
No, it's not Ed Solo on this one. It's another guy, A Specimen. I think it's A Specimen, and Decline on that produced that track, and. So Trigger was on it already, so I had something to work around. I had to fit my lyrics with what he was saying. So it was a sound clash vibes, which I can do that all day long. Right? Sound clash killing vibes. I grew up in the 80s, so that's normal for me. Grew up in Jamaica in the 80s, that's normal. So Navi wrote his bars, and then I wrote my bars, and we're just letting sounds know that don't test us, because you're gonna get killed, literally.
Not literally.
No, sorry. Virtually. Yeah. We don't promote murder. We're not killing anyone. But that's what we do. And if you test us in the dance, it's curtains for you, basically.
Yeah, some sad faces on the way home.
Yeah.
So you're appearing tonight at the festival with Roots in Session. How did you link up with them?
Right, so Roots in Session heard about me, and they came to England like in the year 2000. So I've known them for, that's like 14 years, like 24, hold on, that long, 24 years! Oh my God. Okay, so I've known these guys for a long time. So they came over and we worked on a track, and then later on, when I was doing my album, I asked them if they would feature on my album. And that album came out in 2013. One World, Many Cultures on V Recordings, Brian G's label. So they've brought me to Slovenia quite a few times since then. So we are now brothers. Roots in Session are my brothers, like, you know. So yeah.
And what are you going to be doing tonight? What can people expect?
Everything. So so Roots in Session, they play right across the board, 360. You know, they play everything. So so we're gonna give them a little taste of everything. There's gonna be reggae, there's gonna be dancehall, there's gonna be jungle, obviously. You know, a bit of drum and bass, maybe even some dubstep. You know, we're just gonna give them a touch, and you know, we're gonna make it exciting. And the guys are gonna also DJ as well. So I'll do a performance, performing some of my songs, some of the hits. But also there'll be some things that not you know, that are not hits, that are just things that we pull out the bag, and the guys are gonna DJ as well. So
well, that's the perfect way to end. You know, from diverse tastes growing up to diverse tastes playing out.
100.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a great show tonight.
My pleasure, Angus. Thanks. Good to see you again. Hey yo, it's your boy David Boomah here at Roots in the Wood Festival 2024, and boy, I'm telling you, man, what a vibe. I've loved every minute of it. I'm getting ready to go home now, and I actually don't want to go. I want to stay and experience one more day at Roots in the Woods. So I'm telling you, next year, make sure you come to Roots in the Wood Festival, the best festival in Slovenia. Trust me upon that. David Boomah. Boom!